And I'm not a lawyer. This discussion is not about the law. This discussion is about political strategy. So listen, I want you to listen to me very carefully, because most likely they're going to suppress me, they're going to do something to me, I don't care. Listen, the way you take back the country is not with any of these shitty-ass, fake-ass lawyers. They're all lying to you. They're all scamming you. These lawyers aren't going into criminal court and helping you win. There's rules against them taking contingencies in criminal cases because they're not supposed to win. Right? If you go into an injury accident case, they can take the case on contingency. Whatever we win, we'll split it up. If we don't win, you don't pay. Can't do that in a criminal case. Why is that? They don't want attorneys motivated to win your case. It's a fucking scam. So here's what you do. You do your jury duty. You tell everyone, do your jury duty. But whenever you see United States of America, you acquit. Jury nullification. And you're going to be like, oh, well, it's a heinous crime. Or do you really believe them? And even if it is, that's what the state is for. Anytime you get called to jury duty for the feds, go and do it and nullify everything. They lie to you about everything. They've rigged your court systems. Unless you go get a lawyer, right? You can't even get your case heard. But if you get a lawyer in a criminal matter, your lawyer is going to do everything they can to mess up your case and make sure you lose. And then when you appeal it, you're sitting in prison. So think about this for a minute. You are prevented as a criminal defendant from offering your attorney any financial incentive really to win your case, right? You can't, no contingencies. So by the time the trial starts, they already have your money. The only way they get paid again from you is either when you get out in 20 years or in a couple weeks when you file an appeal. You think they want to wait 20 years or a couple weeks when you file an appeal? So in order for you to file an appeal and need their services so they can get that money, especially if they're a public defender, they're just going to get that money. It's just going to almost be automatic. Even if you tried to fire him, that would get lost in the mail. He would get the money. He would file a bullshit appeal and you would lose. He would get paid. But that's the only financial incentive by the time the trial starts that there is for the attorney. It's not that you would win. They're going to tell you, well, ineffective assistance of counsel has to rise to where it shocks the conscience, right? And since all the attorneys in the defense attorney game suck, I mean, everybody in prison, 99.9% conviction rate, had an attorney. Every single one of them had an attorney. Every single one of them lost. Complete scam. Nullification. So that ineffective assistance of counsel standard, basically, this is how I want you to look at it. The lawyer messes up your case, refuses now that you're in prison to even file the things you want on appeal. So you write the appellate court and say, hey, I want a new lawyer. My lawyer's not raising issues. Here's what the appellate court's going to say. Did you hear that? That's what they're going to say. So your appeal is going to get denied. Your attorney is going to be on the street. You're going to be in prison. You're going to try to file ineffective assistance of counsel. Here's what they're going to tell you. First, they're going to tell you don't have no right to access any of your file. You have no right to do that. You need to get somebody on the street to go and pay for your file and then mail it to you. And then number two, they're going to tell you because your lawyers suck just as bad as all the other lawyers that you were fine. You got constitutional counsel. Complete rigged. So think about it. What you have in a trial is you have an independent judge, or you're supposed to, independent defendant, independent prosecution, right? All making decisions based on their own information. And the prosecution doesn't know everything, or not supposed to know everything. The defense knows, and vice versa, right? Then you have 12 jury members and 2 alternates, so like 14, right? So you've got all these variables. That's a complex, adaptive system. And what comes out of those is supposed to be emergent qualities, not a predictive 99.5% conviction rate. That's a Bernie Madoff scheme. It's mathematically impossible to take a complex situation and make it predictable, but that's what you see in the courts. So that's the biggest smoking gun right there. You know that it's fake. It's completely fake, completely rigged. Year after year, no outliners in performance. So that's a reason right there to nullify every case that you're a jury on when it comes to the United States of America. They've rigged the system. And it starts from when they get the indictment. The Founding Fathers put protections into the criminal justice system. They said that in the past, the grand jury had to convene and the prosecutor wasn't allowed to go into the grand jury room. But they changed that. So before they changed that, 1 out of 4 people would actually get a no bill. There would be no indictment. Now, recently you've heard that phrase, you can indict a ham sandwich. Why is that? Because now they allow the prosecutor to go into the grand jury room and essentially beat on the grand jury until they get their indictment. So there is no bills anymore. They even stopped recording no bills because they virtually eliminated them with their rigged process. The government said that I was the ringleader or the mastermind in a complex, large financial fraud case. And so to provide me for my trial with a constitutional jury, a jury of my peers, and I'm from the inner city, all of the alleged crimes that I was involved in happened in the inner city of Minneapolis, Hennepin County, Minneapolis. From any spot where you said that I committed a crime, you could look and see a skyscraper. So to provide me with the constitutional jury pool, the judge says, we've gone to the southwest corner of Minnesota and we've selected jury members from there. Jury members from 200 miles away that have never been to the city and know nothing about finance, but are all on government farm subsidies. And I don't mean jury members, I mean just the jury pool, right? We're going to go over here to the rural farmland where everyone gets a government subsidy for their farm that's not profitable. They get a subsidy for that, and they're thankful for it. And so they want to come do their jury duty, and they want to come convict. At least that's the idea, right? Because why don't you go and get people from Minneapolis? There's more people there. It's easier for them to come to the court. Some of them could probably even walk to the courthouse. But no, we need to go 200 miles away to get a jury of your peers, Spencer. You never lived in the country, never worked on a farm. Everything you did was in the inner city. But, let's have all these old people judge you. And look, I don't mean old people in a bad way. I respect the judgment of my elders. But if I'm using the term my elders, are they my peers? Right? I think there could be some discussion, some argument there, right? Jury of my peers. And then let's talk about voir dire. Voir dire is where you get a number of strikes, and you get one more strike than the government. You could get rid of certain. Let me give you an idea of how it's used, how it's deployed, right? The real reason to deploy it is because even though we're going way out to the rural area, some jurors could slip through the cracks. Some undesirable, jurors could slip through the cracks. We need to be able to get rid of them. Do you smell what The Rock is cooking? Since we've already tainted the jury pool, we can trust most. We feel pretty good about it. We just want to go over it one more time. Do you smell what The Rock is cooking? Sanitize it one more time, right? This virtually just locks down that they have the jury that they want, not one that maybe you are constitutionally entitled to. So the government uses their preemptive strikes to immediately strike any of the minorities or any of the non-rural white farm people that slip through the cracks. Smell what The Rock is cooking? That slip through the cracks. Those are their first strikes, right? Voir dire is another rigged process that they've rigged and changed and altered over the years. Do you smell what The Rock is cooking? I'm going to make a video on that. But you see, this is how you take a complex adaptive system and make it predictable. You make it complicated. It's no longer complex, it's complicated. Do you smell what The Rock is cooking? Complicated, right? Like flying an airplane is complicated. But if you know how to do it, you can take off from A and land in B pretty much on time. You can predict the whole process. But when it comes to things like the stock market, right, where you've got a bunch of individual actors using individual knowledge. Do you smell what The Rock is cooking? You can't do that, right? You can't make predictions. What comes out of that emerges out of that. But the way you eliminate that is you remove variables and you add controls, right? So you rig the grand jury process. Smell what The Rock is cooking? You rig the jury pool process. Do you smell what The Rock is cooking? You rig the voir dire process. Do you smell what The Rock is cooking? And the way you rig it is you add your controls, your special court rules that are unconstitutional and only there to create the 99.9% conviction rate. Do you smell what The Rock is cooking? You could go through the whole process. So now, if they rig the indictment, the jury pool, jury selection, why do they got to rig the trial? Well, because they know some of those jury members might actually have a conscience.
Moral injury can occur anytime someone feels like they're either perpetuating, failing to prevent, or just bearing witness to an act that transgresses their moral beliefs.
After seeing, I don't know what could slip up in court, right? So they're going to try now to really stop you from presenting your evidence, and it starts with your lawyer. Do you smell what The Rock is cooking? Your lawyer's going to tell you that the government has the burden. All we have to do is poke holes in their case and cast doubt. Let me ask you something. Does that smell like bullshit to you? All we have to do is poke holes in their case and cast doubt. Wrong. Wrong. right? What your lawyer needs to do and what he won't do is he needs to present to the jury what's called a factually exculpatory scenario that's coherent and accounts for the evidence. He won't do that. So stop right here and ask yourself this question. Is your attorney, does he want to get paid in 20 years or in 2 weeks when you file an appeal? You will have to fight him to get elements of that in.
Smell what the Rock is cooking?
So he's not going to offer this factually exculpatory scenario. He's not even going to develop one. If you press him, eventually he's going to demand more money or claim he doesn't have the resources for the investigation that you want, all kinds of stuff. But the one thing they're not going to do is present for you a factually exculpatory scenario. And if you go in representing yourself as a pro se litigant, you won't even be allowed to present your case, right? You'll be treated with the presumption that you're an idiot. First of all, you're an idiot. We're lawyers, we're the judge, we wear robes. Shut up, peasant. That's how you'll be treated. So to get your case presented, you'll try to do something like hybrid counsel, where they're just there, but they're not there. That's a mistake. It's always a mistake. Listen, it's not designed for you to win. When your mothers, your fathers, your brothers, your sisters get one of these indictments, right, which is as valuable as a ham sandwich, so it could happen to your kid, they're not going to get a fair legal process. They're not. None of it's fair. None of it's constitutional. You have a duty to nullify until it changes. And so that's the truth.
You guys have to pay attention. I'm no longer on probation. I haven't committed any crimes. I'm not doing anything nefarious. I'm exercising my First Amendment right to speech. So the first thing they're going to try to do is censor me, right? I need your help getting this out. Share it with people. Then the next thing they'll try to do is start to discredit me, right? Or even retaliate against me.
Smell what the Rock is cooking?
That's what they do, right? So I'm going to let you know, my promise to you, and you guys know me, I'm not on no bullshit. I'm not going to do anything fucking stupid, right? Why would I? I'm going to expose the truth, what happened to me, clear my name, and hopefully make a difference in this corrupt. And it's not just the criminal judicial system. It's pro se litigants, you're right, to the courts versus lawyers. That's what it is. Now, if you like content like this, you want me to break it down for you, I will. But we need to get this message out. Jury nullification is your weapon. That's your sovereignty, right? So imagine a world where the government says, oh, these group of people attacked us and did this, right? So all those people say, well, take us to trial. Go to trial, and you, as a patriot, refuse to convict because you can. You can nullify anything. That's your right. Now, the judge will actually say that you can't tell the jury that. The jury has to be told that they have to follow my rule, my law, another rigged situation, right? Because the jury should know that, hey, you know what? If you just don't want to convict, you don't have to because you're the sovereign people of this land, right? But they're not going to tell you that. But that's how you get your sovereignty back. Do that for a couple weeks, and you think they're not going to come to the table, or they're going to expose themselves for the dictators that they are.
And I'm not a lawyer. This discussion is not about the law. This discussion is about political strategy. But you knew that, right? Listen, you can only vote for the president once every 4 years, and then out of only the 2 people that they allow you to vote for, true or false. But as a sovereign people, you can cast a vote every time you do jury duty. No mistake about it. I have taken a case against the corrupt government now to the court of public opinion. You see, that's where you come in. And I need you to do your jury duty. Judge me. Judge me on the evidence I present, the words I say, what you know to be true from your experience and what you've observed of my character the entire time that you've known me. Judge me. Convict me or acquit me, public, because in your judgment of acquittal, you're sending a message and you're putting your faith in someone who's not scared, not going to let you down, someone you can trust. If you ride with me, if you see the truth, if you're tired of the government corruption, then when a man like me calls on you, you need to help. We all put time, effort, and money into things that never move the needle. If you want real change, you need to ride with me. You need to share this message. You need to let them know you acquit me. in your judgment of acquittal, you're sending a message and you're putting your faith in someone who's not scared, not going to let you down, someone you can trust. And so getting the word out, right? Even if you don't, necessarily want to ride with me or whatever, just getting the word out. Think about it like this. Think about what getting the word out would actually do. First, people go into jury duty informed of their real rights. Just knowing that they have the rights might cause them to act differently at least once in a while, right? Might start compensating for that no bill. Prosecutor can just get an indictment whenever he wants, no protection there. We can start protecting ourselves by getting the information out. Knowing that, you could also let them know about the Bernie Madoff conviction rate. There's no outliners, and you could ask people to compare that performance with the government's performance virtually anywhere else. Are they that efficient anywhere else? And then given that, they've normalized that court system, you can expect that the level of judicial work is the same in every case, right? You can start to assign a value of confidence on the judicial system.
So, with that said, my whole life is about documentation, keeping a record. You have to keep a record of every interaction with these people, every single one, right? And because you can reasonably believe that they're going to conspire to deprive you of rights because that's their history, and you can reasonably believe you're not going to get any justice for it in the court system, you need to document it. You need to record them. Those type of things are actually crimes. So whenever you can document, record, build a record, you need to command the facts, right? One day you're going to have to create your own factually exculpable scenario and present it to the jury.
You smell what the Rock is cooking?
You might have to, because they will retaliate against you. You don't want to go tell on some people. They'll build a case against you and try to scare you into doing it, and they've got the process where conviction is certain.
So now you know this. So I need you to get off the sideline, go do your jury duty, do it as a patriot. And patriotically, get the message out. Get this message out. And so it can't get any easier for you. I've taken out all the guesswork for you. You've only got 2 things to do, and you don't have to do number 2 unless you're called for jury duty. And if you are, you don't duck it, you go do it. You do it patriotically. Between now and then, and maybe you're never called, you let as many people as you can know what I shared with you in this message. Pretty easy. If you don't do that, it's because you support that system. And put as much pressure on anyone you know going to do jury work. Get in their grill on it. Know what I'm saying?